We're all searching for it, or people. The ones you can call when you're at the end of your rope. The ones you ask for advice in a difficult stage or deciding on which jeans to buy. The ones who you share dreams and hopes with, who get you to the gym and love your kids like their own. Motherhood was never meant to be a solitary role, and now it doesn't need to be. Here we discuss everything from our favorite kidisms to mental wellness to our best mom hacks and more. Mamas are world changers, and it's time to stop bearing that responsibility alone. So whether you're driving carpool, rocking a sleeping baby, or doing dishes, we're here for you. Welcome to the village. Welcome to episode 22 of the Village Podcast. I'm your host, Missy Allred, and I have another mom chat. I have my friend Sabrina with me. Sabrina, will you tell us a little bit about yourself, what life looks like in this season for you?
Sure. So I live in Utah. I live close to Missy. I have three little girls. My oldest is 4, my middle one is 2.5, and then my baby turns 1 on Saturday.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe she's
Which
that
went
big.
by really fast.
Do you feel like it went faster with her than the other
Oh
two?
yeah.
Okay, that's how I feel too.
Even with my middle, like that went faster than the first time, but this has gone way faster.
Like exponentially.
Yes.
Yes, I totally agree. It's kind of the worst.
And I really hope it doesn't like get even faster with each one. That would be
That's so sad.
crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so I have those 3 kids. I stay at home with them and go to lots of parks, lots of outside time. That's yeah, that's pretty much what we do all day.
I love it. And that it feels like you did so much.
Yes.
You did. Like, oh my goodness, it's so fun, but it feels like a lot this season. All right, we were talking a little bit on Instagram, just kind of figuring out where to start of chores and kids and letting our kids be a part of things, involving them more. So right now, with your very young kids, what do you do with them? What do you involve them with?
So I mean, kind of everything. Um, I guess, yeah, so since my oldest was little, she would just kind of, come along with me and do whatever I was doing. Um, I'm a very organized person and I really actually like to clean and organize things. That's fun for me, which I know is not normal.
I'm actually the same way, so I'm like, yeah, totally.
Yeah, that makes sense. And my husband would disagree.
So would I.
Not think it's fun. But so she would just, come along with me, and if I'm like cleaning the mirrors in the bathroom or something, I'd give her a rag, and I have a little spray bottle with water, and she'd like spray the wall and like wipe down the wall and stuff. Um, Now all 3 of them love to do that. They'll fight over the spray bottles, and some spots of my walls are really clean because they'll start cleaning one spot and then they won't move. They'll just keep cleaning that spot. And I'm like, right over there's fingerprints. Like, go over there. Um, so they'll help with like cleaning stuff like that. They actually both my older ones really love to do laundry.
What
So
do they do right now with that?
so I mean, really they can do most of it. We have front loading washer and dryer. So
Mm.
they'll help me put the clothes in the washing machine and then I'll put the soap in. But then they'll push the buttons and start it. I just have to make sure. One time one of them changed it, and so it was on like this super like sanitizing wash, and I didn't realize till like halfway through. I'm like, shouldn't it be done by now? And then I realized they like totally changed it. Thankfully nothing was ruined, but now I like really check.
Double check everything all the time.
Yeah. But then they'll switch stuff to the dryer. They think that's really fun. They love checking the lint trap. It's like a highlight.
It's
And
so
so
funny what they find joy
I
in.
know. They're like, look, there was stuff in it. Like, that's
It's so
great.
exciting. Well, I mean, every birthday, they're always more interested in the box and the wrapping than they are in the toy.
Hmm.
98% of the time.
Yep. Unless there's like a doll in there, they like the box
I know
better.
your girls love dolls. They're so cute.
Yes, they are. And then yeah, they like folding the laundry. So my 2-year-old, she really likes to fold rags. I don't usually fold the rags. If I'm doing the laundry by myself, I just put them in a basket. But she really likes to fold them. So she'll sit there with her pile of rags and like fold them all nice and be like, look, I did it. And it's so
She's a
cute.
little Sabrina.
Yes. And we cloth diapers, so she will fold the diapers also, which is a new thing because those are a little more tricky to fold. And she
Yeah.
just got it. She's super excited about it. And then my 4-year-old can fold pretty much all her clothes. So she does that, and then they'll put their stuff away in their drawer. Um,
She'll actually sit and like fold all of her clothes, all of
yeah.
them. Wow, that's amazing. My boys put their stuff away and they get bored after like two or three things. And so
Yeah.
I've given up. I'm like, just throw it in the drawer. I don't even care.
So I feel like the part they get the most distracted on is the putting away. They like the folding part, it's the putting away where they'll like
Really?
take one pile of like shirts and then they won't come back. And I'm like, okay, but now the baby's unfolding everything. Like, you gotta come back and get the other stuff. Or they'll come back like 20 minutes later and they're like, ah, like, who unfolded it? I'm like, well, you left it there for a long time.
I've stopped folding like my washcloths and kitchen towels and stuff because they all live in a bottom drawer in my kitchen.
Oh,
And so
yep.
Lucy just pulls them out and I'm like, I don't want to refold them
Mm-hmm.
at least once a day, if not
Yep.
more. So I'm like, whatever, it's fine. Throw them in the drawer. Eventually we'll get through this season and not get through this season. I love this season. I really do. It's so fun. But it's the every
Pulling stuff
cupboard
out
and
of
drawer.
drawers is,
All the pans are always out. There's always a drawer on the other side of the kitchen that there's always things
uh-huh.
circling the drawer where she got into it. And I'm kind of just like, well, she's entertained. It's fine.
Yep.
It's as easy as putting toys away. But I
I know.
still don't want to refold the towels three times, so they just get thrown back in and it's fine.
Yeah. I did stop folding Pippa's clothes because she really likes clothes and she'll bring them to me to put them on her. But she'll like take everything out first. There's one
Yeah.
sweater that she really likes and she'll bring it to me like twice a day at least to put it on her.
That's so funny that
Which
she
is so
already is
funny.
like has a preference.
I know. It's this like it's very cute, but she wants it all the time. And sometimes I'm like, it's kind of hot. Like you're going outside and she wants it
That's
on.
so
And
funny.
very opinionated.
Lucy doesn't really go in her room. So she doesn't get into all of her clothes are in like the higher drawers, but so it's just
Yeah.
like blankets and shoes in the low one. That's the only one she could really get to. But she doesn't really go in there. It's just the kitchen. That's her
Yeah.
favorite place.
Yeah, Pippa also likes to take all the like I'll have a couple towels hanging on like the oven. She likes
Yeah,
to pull those down.
always. Yes.
She'll clean the floor with them, and I'm like, well, that's not really clean anymore. Thanks.
Oh, Lucy's new thing is the knobs on the oven.
Oh.
We have a gas stove. She hasn't figured out how to push them in, but I'm always wary.
Mm-hmm.
I always have to like check as she leaves the kitchen and make sure everything's turned off because
I forget that that's
just
the
know
thing
that
because mine
it's
are all up at the top. But my mom
yeah.
got a new oven that has all of them on the bottom, and they're really touchy because like part of it is like a I don't know, like a touchpad
Oh
one.
yeah.
And so my youngest brother is 4 and he'll turn the oven off all the time when she's cooking stuff. So I'm like, oh, all these problems I don't have 'cause I have an old.
Mine's old, so like it is a little bit like you can't just twist them. You do have to like push them in all the
That's
way for it
nice.
to ignite. Like my mother-in-law's, hers are down lower even than mine. And they're still knobs, but they're very touching. So it's one where like you'll bump up against it and
Yep.
it will twist it. And so the littles love that,
I
which is so
bet.
stressful.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have that. But yeah, so they love doing laundry. Um, they also really like to help clean. So we have two bathrooms in our house, and one of them, it's like a not a tub shower, just a shower.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they love to play in there and they love to scrub the floor. So that shower, the
Oh.
floor is really clean because they'll take a shower and they'll have a scrub brush and they'll just scrub the floor and the walls and stuff. I'll
Oh,
just like squirt some
can
soap
they come to
around.
my house?
They would love to.
I need to get my boys in on this because I I don't know if it's just a boy problem, but there's pee all over my bathroom all the time
Yep.
because they don't pay attention to where they're peeing.
I did like the girls, it's usually more just like drops on the seat.
Yeah,
It's not everywhere.
it's not walls and floor and
Yes, but
shower
I grew
curtain
up with a
because
bunch
they
of younger
were
brothers and
wandering
yeah,
and yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere. Like, oh my
Like,
gosh.
why? It's not that hard.
I had, okay, so after my freshman year of college, I had, I went on a study abroad for my summer term. So I had spring term. So I had like 7 weeks in
Okay.
between like regular school year ending and leaving for Europe. And I was like, okay, I need something to do. So I need like a really chill job that I can have for 7 weeks before I.
Right.
So I had the really great job of being a campus custodian. It was awesome.
Oh,
My favorite job ever.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, totally not my favorite. So it was like cleaning um the dorms at BYU.
Yeah.
And so it was like the first thing we had to do is we went through all like the regular apartments after every like all the students moved out and we
Uh-huh.
had to like deep clean all the apartments. And then it was like during EFY weeks, after every EFY week we'd come in and the boys' bathrooms, I was like, I just don't understand. There was such a difference between the girls and the boys' bathrooms.
Uh-huh.
It was terrible.
And it's crazy how you're like, y'all are teenagers. Like, you should know this by now. Like,
And I seriously remember being like, oh, my boys will never leave a bathroom like that. And they're gonna get it in the dang toilet. So much easier said than done.
yeah.
I'm shocked. Okay, so they do bathrooms and laundry.
They love emptying the dishwasher. That's always a favorite. They like to help set the table. I mean, pretty much any cleaning thing, they like to do it. And I think part of it is that, like, that's often what I'm doing. And
Mhm.
so they'll come and,
They
like,
want to be involved.
they want to be with me. So that's what they're doing. And I've tried not to be like, well, sometimes when I'm not feeling very patient, it's like, okay, you need to go away. I
Yeah,
need to just clean this. And, sometimes you're in a hurry and you really just need to get something done because it does take a lot longer when you're doing it with all the kids.
yeah, for sure.
Um, but I've tried to encourage their interest in the cleaning as much as possible because like I want them to help more as they get older. And I know if like now I'm like, no, like this is a job, go play. Like this isn't fun, then why would they want to help when they're, 10?
And you actually want them to help.
Yeah, and when they can
It's
actually,
such a
really do
long
something.
game,
Mm-hmm.
which is so hard. And that's kind of what I was going to ask you is just like, okay, how do you have the patience for that? Because I feel like I'm much more in the like, can I just get this done? Like, I will be so much faster. Let me just get it done so we can move on to the next thing.
I mean, I think it depends. Like one thing that I want to be better at them helping with is like cooking dinner type of things. Because that's usually a time where I'm like, just leave me alone. Like I just need to do this.
Yeah.
Um, but I've tried to make it so that when I'm doing like cleaning things during the day, it's not super time sensitive. I've tried to make it be a little bit more relaxed so that then I do have like a little bit of extra time to explain how to do something or, redo it after they
Yeah.
clean the windows and they're
Gave it
worse
their
than they
best
were
effort.
before, you know?
And it's like this one little spot because they're just little and
Yeah,
Then there's the whole rest of, well, I mean, I guess they reached their dirtiest spots, so it's fine.
that's true. I guess they're cleaning where their
The
hands
walls
were.
and the windows, like, yeah, that's where it's dirtiest, is like your belly button down.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of naturally, that's just kind of been how it's been the whole time I've been a mom, is that they have helped with these things. And I do think it would be harder if, like, for these first 4 years, I'd been like, no, go away. And I
Mhm.
was used to doing it by myself, and then I was trying to incorporate them more. I feel like that would be harder because I wasn't used to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering if there's a difference between boys and girls because I don't feel I feel like every once in a while the boys have an interest. Like for a while there, Parker was like, "Mom, I want to help you clean the bathroom." Like that was so exciting. And so I did have him help, and then it was like 3 times, and then I'd ask him and be like, "Oh, I don't want to," and then it's fighting him, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, just interesting. But your girls are so, I don't know. They're just little moms. They're so
They
cute.
are.
I just love them. Like they always want to be with the kids, and they always have their little dolls with them, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I just wonder if there is a difference between boys and girls and just like that natural desire.
I mean, I
So
think
how much do you encourage and how much do
yeah.
they just are they just interested?
Yeah. I think, and I mean, if I look at what they do when they're playing, like a lot of it is, being a mommy, like taking care of their babies
Mhm.
and like pretending to go to the park with them or the library.
Yeah.
And like, or they'll, cook something for their babies in the play kitchen, and they'll set the table, and because they have a little like play table and a tea set, and they'll like set the table all nice. And we have like these rainbow silkies, like thin silk fabric. They're really pretty rainbow colors. They'll like use that as a tablecloth and set the
Uh-huh.
table. And like a lot of the things that they do
Yeah.
are very mothering
Yeah.
activities. And like they play other things too, but that's what they do the majority of the time.
Yeah. So
It's
it's
just,
just like an extension of play for them.
yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of research that talks about how like children don't see like chores and jobs as work. They just see it as like your play because that's what they see you doing all the time. And so then
Oh,
they
okay.
want to like play with you if you've, encouraged that, I guess.
That's so interesting. So I
Because
live
to
in
them,
that
like they're just
real,
playing all day. And so they think that's what adults do also. And so what
yeah.
you're doing must be the things that you think are fun.
I wonder if our attitude towards that kind of stuff, how much they pick up on that and want to, I don't know, like if they pick up on that and lean into things that we seem more excited about and kind of push away
Yeah.
the things that we're not so thrilled about. Like I'm just wondering about that again with my boys of like I love to cook and Parker always asks if he can cook or
Yeah.
bake or whatever I'm doing. He loves
Mm-hmm.
that. But the chores, I guess honestly, chore stuff I either do when he isn't around because I can
Hmm.
get it done really fast.
Which makes
It's
sense.
easier. Or, like I'll go on like a cleaning spree and I'm like, I'm just gonna get everything done and I
Yep.
literally do everything
Yep.
while they're outside playing or something like that. And so
Hmm.
he just doesn't see it as much. But cooking, he's very interested in. He like from the
Yeah.
time he was tiny, he wants to be up and putting ingredients in
Mhm.
the mixer. And he's been the last couple weeks, he's been making his own eggs like every morning,
Oh,
which
wow.
he's gotten to the point where like he pretty much I'm in the same room, but I don't really do that much.
Right.
He has a hard time flipping them, but
Oh, does
just
he
like
do
at the end.
it?
But other than that, like he does it all by himself. He cracks the
Yeah.
eggs, he gets the salt and pepper, he gets the
Mm-hmm.
stove started, he gets the butter. Like he's doing
It's so
so
cute.
good. But it is interesting that like that is what I find more joy in.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to like involve them in that. And I actually have found that like having tools that my kids can use, whether that's like a we have a set of like plastic knives, so it actually
Oh
cuts
yeah, we
pretty
have
well,
those
but
too.
it's not going to cut them. Or
Mm-hmm.
I bought a like the chopper. Do you know what I'm talking
Oh
about? It's
yeah,
not like you like put it in, you just like slam it down
those are
and
cool. Yeah.
slices everything. But my kids can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Where usually I would just hand chop it, which I honestly I forget I have that thing. And then I used it again the other day. I hadn't used it in months. Like I honestly just forgot it was in my cupboard because I'm so used to just
Right.
regular chopping. That's just what I do. Um, and I was like, why don't I use this? This takes half the time.
I always see people making salads with it, and I'm like, man, I'd probably eat more salad because I really like salad, but it's a pain to like chop everything for lunch. I'd
Yeah.
probably eat way more if I just did it in that.
Okay, maybe I need to like rearrange my cupboards a little bit so that I can have that in a place that is less out of the way because
Uh-huh.
I forget I have it and then I'm like, oh my goodness, why don't I use this more often? It's so
Hmm.
handy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
I
I'm
that
sure
has
it's
made a difference of
partly.
them having tools that they can use to be
Hmm.
able to actually do their own thing.
Yeah. And like, yeah, we have spray bottles that they can use. We do have, like, have you seen the Melissa and Doug, like, it has like a broom and a mop,
Oh yeah.
like a little dustpan. A lot of people have it. Like we have one
Yeah.
of those, and so they'll like, I'll be mopping and they'll like go get their mop. We did have to stop doing that because they would put the mop in the water, but they weren't good at wringing the
Bringing
mop
it out.
out. And so we'd have like a huge puddle. And it was once Pippa started like walking around more, it was a huge trip hazard. So
Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
she's all going, and then she just
Oh, no.
even Margot, she'd forget that it was there and they'd just be out. So we had to stop that.
Oh
They
my
can
goodness, that is
pretend to
so
mop
funny.
now.
We do have like a little tiny broom and dustpan, and they pull that out all the
Hmm.
time. Now that I think about it, like that's if they,
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like some of this too is like, okay, this is your responsibility of like, all right, you spilled this. I'm
Hmm.
not going to clean it up. You need to clean it up. I'll show you what to do. And I think that's sometimes I forget that our kids need to be led a little bit more of like, okay, here's how you
Yeah.
clean up. Where I'm like, just get a rag and wipe it. Like it's not that hard, but like I've done it for
They've
so
never done
long
that.
that it is intuitive for me, where it's like, okay,
Hmm.
but what do I use? And is it wet? Does it need to be dry? How do I
Yeah.
wipe this up? Is that all I, like they have these questions. And I've learned that too with like even just cleaning up their toys
Hmm.
of being able to guide them and even just starting with like, okay, let's put all the books back in the shelf. All right, now let's put all the blocks back in the bag. And,
Right.
one thing at a time to not overwhelm their little brains, but teaching the processes of, okay, here's step one, here's step two,
Hmm.
so on
Because
and so
it's
forth.
overwhelming for me too if like, you look at a room and it's covered with stuff.
Yeah,
But because I've done it for so long, I know, okay, like I'll start with one thing or one area and I'll clean that up and then I'll move to the next part. And like if you think about how little they are and they don't know that yet, they just see all this overwhelming like a sea of stuff, and
yeah,
they give up because they don't know where to begin. And
yeah,
so like helping them learn how to do a little bit at a time so it's not so overwhelming can make it more enjoyable, or at
yeah.
least doable.
I've definitely learned that if I'm overwhelmed, they're more overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so being able to keep that perspective when I'm like, why are you freaking out? Like, you're saying it's too much. Well, you shouldn't have gotten everything out. And
As you're
if
also
I
freaking
can,
out.
oh, totally. Exactly. Yeah.
Why are you freaking out?
So if I can remember, like, okay, if I'm overwhelmed, of course they're overwhelmed. Like, let's take this a step at a time. Like, I think so much with parenting is just being able to consciously pause before I respond and being able to see, okay, how might they be interpreting this situation?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Which is easier said than done.
What? I don't know what
And
you're
there's
talking
so many
about.
times, well, I think it's good for our kids to even see, like, there's so many times where I freak out, and then after I do a little freak out, I remember that I can respond in a different way. And
Uh-huh.
so even my kids being able to see me recognize that and come back and be like, oh, guys, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to respond like that. Can I do that over? And being able to like repair and try again and let that be my remembered response,
Mhm.
if that makes sense,
Yeah.
instead of the freak out. And I think that helps them go, oh, okay, mom's not perfect, but this is what I do when
Yeah.
I also don't react like I want to react, when I yell at my brother when I didn't really want to do
Hmm.
that, or whatever it is. And so I don't know. I think our kids seeing us imperfect is a really good thing. And if we can turn it into a learning experience, and I think that starts with us, one, being aware and being able to pause, but also to be okay with the imperfections, that it doesn't make us a bad mom, that it's just us being human, and that's such a great learning opportunity, because if our kids saw us perfect, they would think that was the standard and wouldn't know what to do when they
Right.
inevitably aren't.
Yes. And I think even with that, like that's teaching that there is another way to react when you freak out. Like the same thing with cleaning and not knowing what to do, like with their reactions, they don't necessarily know what to do either. Like you can tell them like you need to react better, but they don't know what that better option
Yeah, yeah.
is. Their automatic is to cry or to, scream at the other person or something. And which is not always the best option. And so like showing them that you can do things differently is really helpful. And something we've been doing lately is like role playing a situation. So like we've been having a lot of trouble with people grabbing toys from the other person and running away. And now Pip is walking, so all three can run away from each other or chase after each other. Um, they're all very into hair pulling,
Oh no.
which leads to a lot of screaming.
Okay, that has got to be a girl thing too, because Lucy pulls the boys' hair all the time. The boys
Gosh.
have never done that. I mean, besides like as like tiny babies grabbing hair because it's just
Right.
something, but like that's
It's
it.
funny.
Lucy, if their heads are in reach, she pulls their hair every time.
Oh, that's
I
so
don't know.
funny. I never thought about that.
Well, I
I
did
guess
until
there's
you
a
just
lot
said
more to
that,
a
and then I was
pull.
like, my boys never did that. That's crazy. Anyways,
Yeah, they all do that. So yeah, we've been practicing like we'll take a few minutes and be like, okay, Margot, you're gonna take this toy from Charlotte, and then Charlotte's gonna ask you to give it back to her. And then you can either say yes or you can say no. And if you say yes, Charlotte says, thank you, that was so nice. And if she says no, Charlotte's gonna come to me and say, Mom, I need help. Margot took my toy, and then I can come to help you. And like doing that has been very helpful. And then they'll role play it together sometimes, which is confusing for me because they sound very realistic when they're doing their role playing and screaming because the other person took something,
that is so
but
funny.
really they're playing.
That's
But
so funny. Oh my goodness. I love that though, because there is so much it's rewiring their brain to go, okay, this is what I do in this situation before, because I think that's part of it too, is we try and teach when they're elevated.
yes, because that's
And
what I'm thinking about it.
yes, exactly. Oh, and it's so hard to remember, okay, we need to come back to this, and
Mhm.
because you're like, we're just gonna solve the problem. But I don't know. I just think there's so many things where I think we need to treat kids more like we treat adults.
Mhm.
In because you wouldn't tell an adult like, all right, calm down right now, we're gonna talk about this.
You'd say, okay, I'll come back and talk to you about this later when we're both not feeling
Yes.
upset.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just going to end up yelling at each other or having a
Because you
more
know that
heated
doesn't work.
discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know that doesn't work. You're neither of you are in a place to actually make any real headway. You're not actually going to learn and communicate well. But with kids, we're like, no, you stop that right now. And like, I'm totally guilty of this. I do it all the
Yep.
time. But it's just so funny that like we expect kids to be better than we are in a lot
Hmm.
of ways. To
Yes.
just know how to do something, to just be able to immediately calm down and be able to rationally discuss something.
No, I can't do that.
Exactly. Or like one thing I keep coming back to is like it's okay for kids to have bad days too.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like
Yep. Today was one of those.
so grumpy today and I just I'm so frustrated and or it could just be like you're just having an off day
Hmm.
and you need more love. And now honestly that one is so hard for me to remember. But again, with an adult, like if my husband is being grumpy and I'm like, what is up? He's like, oh, I'm just having an off day. I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Give him a hug and all of a sudden I have more patience and it's fine. But with my kid, I forget about that.
Yeah. Or you realize after the fact, like the next day they are acting sick and you're like, oh, you weren't feeling well
Yeah.
yesterday. And that's why you were so annoying and grumpy. Like now it makes sense, but you couldn't communicate that to me yesterday. But now your body is really telling me that you're not feeling well.
Yeah.
I should have been more patient with you yesterday. But yeah.
That's so funny that like this is where this conversation is going because I feel like that's where my the last episode was too of like interpreting your kid's behavior of all behavior is communication. It's not
Mhm.
them out to get you. It's not them trying to be annoying, at least the majority of the time, because I think they definitely, especially if they get a little bit older, I think there's
Or
definitely
else
a little bit of
definitely some of it is. She
definitely
knows
some of
that
it, but there's honestly they are still trying to communicate something
it.
of I need attention or there's an imbalance somewhere, even if that's just like imbalance of power. Like
Hmm.
my oldest likes to just take over and be like, this is what we're gonna play, and this is what you're gonna do, and this is what you're gonna pretend to be. And I'm like, dude, you have to
As an
let him
oldest
decide.
child, I
I know,
totally
me too.
understand.
Totally, totally. There's part of me that's like so sympathetic, and the other part that's just like, oh my gosh, stop it.
There's the other part of me that's like, well, your siblings are gonna hate you
Yeah.
because my sister and my so I have a sister next and then two boys after her. And I was very bossy as a child and I liked to say what we were playing and sometimes they would get fed up and they would go play somewhere else and my sister would be like, "You can't play with us. And if you want to play with us, you have to be old Granny Apple." And like I would just like sit there and cry while they played house somewhere else because
Oh.
they didn't want to keep listening to me bossing them around.
That's so sad. That's so funny though. I could laugh at it because I totally
I
understand.
know, right?
Because I was totally the bossy older sister. But
Yep.
also being able to know like, okay, I was the bossy older sister, and so I can be like, okay, he's trying to genuinely help and create a fun thing, but it has to be the right way.
Yes.
That's in his head. I oh my goodness, I see so much of him in or me in him. And some of
Uh-huh.
it I'm like, yes. And the other part of me is like,
Oh
dang.
no.
But being able to foster that, I don't know, like I feel like this with certain traits, like Parker's independence and we'll call it leadership. Good skills
Mm-hmm.
at 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. I'm like, can we bottle this up and bring it back out in 10
Give it
years?
a little bit.
But also like I don't want that. And so being able to like guide him in a way where it's like, okay, how can we foster this leadership in a way
Hmm.
that isn't dictatorship and
Yeah.
just taking over, right? And so, but again, like they don't know how to do that because
Hmm.
I can't be like, Parker, you're just taking over. Except that's exactly what I say because he's like, okay, well then what?
Yes.
Like we only have half the conversation.
Hmm.
It's like the reprimanding without the actual teaching, But
Yeah.
then what? Okay, so like I'm not supposed to do this. Then what do I do instead?
hmm And I think that's something actually that I've noticed with Charlotte, my oldest, a lot lately, is that having those chores and that ability to do things by herself has been really helpful, making her feel like she's in charge of something,
Yeah.
without being in charge of someone else. So, like,
Yes.
lately, let's see, maybe a month ago, I was like, okay, so in the morning, you need to start making your bed. Before that, I'd kind of done it. We tried a couple times to have them do it, but it was just so messy that I couldn't leave it that way. And so I just did it. But I was like, okay, you need to start doing this. She and Margot both sleep on a twin bed. They share one bed because they are both small, and so they don't even take up half the bed each. So it felt lame to have two beds for people who aren't even taking up half the bed. So they sleep on either side of the twin bed. And so every morning they make the bed, and Charlotte's in charge of it because she can do more, and Margot doesn't seem to mind her like telling her what to do. And so they really haven't fought at all while they're doing that. They're very capable. They'll do it together. And Charlotte tells Margot, okay, you need to take the pillows off first. Then you pull this and you tuck it in. And so it's something that she can be in charge of. That's a good thing that makes her feel, good about herself, and like she can do something, and everyone else isn't left crying.
I love that. Okay, so a couple things I was thinking of through this is like if people are listening and are like, okay, yeah, I want to give my kids more responsibilities, but it is overwhelming and it's just okay, but where do I even start? My kind of from what we've been talking about, I would say like start with their interests
hmm
and lean into that and go one thing at a time because kids also thrive in routine,
Yep.
especially those oldest children.
Yeah.
I always tell babysitters, like, I'll kind of give them the nighttime routine, and then I'm like, if you forget, ask Parker, he'll tell you
Yeah.
exactly what to
He
do.
knows.
But they do, they thrive in routine. And so if you can add like one little thing to their routine, like making the bed or putting their clothes away or whatever it is. So leaning into their strengths, into whatever they're currently interested in, and or start with one little thing to just add to their routine to kind of because they're still little. It's not like they have to be putting all their clothes away and making their food and making the bed and they're not at
Yeah.
that place.
Like,
And
start
especially if you're
small.
just starting, like
Yeah.
one little thing.
And like, yeah, start small. If you wanted to start with laundry, like, I don't know how other people do it, but when I fold clothes, like, I'll have a load and I'll sort it into like different people's clothes. They each have a pile, and then like a pile of towels, stuff like that. So like I'll even have them just help me sort it, and
Yeah.
I'll make like a spot on the floor for each of the piles, and then they can throw the clothes to the piles. And like that's a really fun way to get them a little bit involved without them actually doing a lot. And it
Yeah.
can be more of a game than like a job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I loved what you said about play earlier, that it's more play for them. And so if you're letting that be
Mhm.
more of a game, make it fun. Like it doesn't have to be, we're the ones that put the this is work and not enjoyable label
Mhm.
on it. It's not them.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it's not like when you're cleaning your bathroom for the 75th time that week, it's not very enjoyable, but like it's something that does need to get done so you can live in a place that's sanitary.
Yeah.
In that situation, it's kind of really needed.
Yeah, a
And
little bit.
so, you can either go through your life hating that you have to do that every day or 2 days or whatever, or you can be like, this is something that I'm doing to make my home nice so that we can all enjoy living here. And you can have a better attitude about it, and that will rub off on your kids, I think, instead of just being like, this sucks. I hate having to do this all the time. This is
Yes.
awful.
Yes, I totally agree. I've been thinking about that a lot lately of I don't know, like how my attitude affects, not just how my attitude affects my kids, but that it doesn't have to be drudgery. It doesn't have to be a chore. I mean, it's chores, but it's not a chore. You know?
Right.
Like it just is. I don't have to attach so much meaning to doing the dishes again because
Mm-hmm.
it's a new day and we ate 3 times and
Only
probably more
three.
than that. We ate 3 meals,
That's true.
but like it doesn't have to be we like you were talking about your girls playing house
Hmm.
and setting the table and taking care of their babies. Like that was play. That
Yep.
was we dreamed of being moms.
Hmm.
And then yes, it's not quite as glamorous as it felt when we were 4. I'll give you that.
No,
But it
not
also
more
like that's what
diapers.
we dreamed of. And now we've turned it into now we have it and it's like, well, this sucks.
Hmm.
But like that sucks.
Yeah. And like, especially, like, I feel the same way about boys, but especially I have 3 girls right now, and the likelihood that they'll end up being moms is probably pretty high.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to hate, like, not the like mothering part of it, because there's the mothering part of being a mom, and then there's often like the housework side and the
Yeah.
meals side. Like, I don't want them to hate that part because it's such a big part of my life right now and will be their life. And so, like, trying to make it more enjoyable now will hopefully make it more enjoyable when they're actually adults and, they have to do those things.
Yeah. And like seeing the purpose in it, that it isn't just daily drudgery that doesn't really mean much,
Hmm.
even though it feels that way sometimes.
And I will say that there was a lot of the past 4 years where, so I had really bad postpartum depression and anxiety. And that anxiety really manifested itself in like postpartum rage. And it was really hard to see the joy in like anything or like a lot of the mothering and housework type stuff. It just wasn't like I would see all these people on Instagram who have like, I guess you call them like positive parenting, positive mothering accounts. And I'd see them and see them talking about like, I can choose to be happy about this and I can choose to love it and have a good attitude. And it just made me feel so bad about myself and just like it wasn't helpful.
Yeah.
It just made me feel worse and it made me feel like that was maybe just them being fake, I guess. And it's only been in the past few months that I've been able to relate to that more, I guess, and like really feel like it can be enjoyable every day. And so, like, if you are hearing this and you feel like that's, unattainable, it might be right now, but it might not be in the future once
Yeah.
I don't know, your hormones are different or you're just something happens.
Totally. Giving yourself that space to be like, okay, this is my current season of my mental health is
Hmm.
what I need to kind of be focusing on. And that's great because I have been there too. I feel like I don't get it so much postpartum, but I get it during pregnancy and
Yes.
I get it right before my period.
Oh, yep.
So like today I was like, oh, yep, here it is. I thought I was doing so good. And then look at my kids all day because I totally like it is partly a hormone thing because it's right before
Yeah.
my period where everything that didn't bug me literally yesterday
Hmm.
sent me over the edge today almost immediately.
Yep.
And today I was really pissed about having to clean up all this stuff that or the noise that was being made or just everything.
Hmm.
And I feel like I've gotten to the place where at least with like my cycle where I can be, okay, I know it's coming like yesterday. I was like, okay, it's coming. Like I can kind of feel it. Like I'm a little more on edge. I know
Hmm.
it's coming, and I know it's only going to last a few days, and I'm
But it
still
feels
trying to
like
figure
forever.
out oh, it totally does. I'm still trying to figure out what will help so I'm not quite so roller coastery.
Yes.
Um,
Let me know when you figure it
oh, I will. So if anyone's like, I can help you, please message me because
out.
I could use it. But even just being able to go, okay, I know this only lasts for a few days. There's not
Mhm.
something wrong with me. I haven't like lost all this progress that I have made because it feels that way.
Yep.
And I'm very aware of that now to at least give myself the grace to be like, this is super temporary. I'm going to do the best I can through this. And then I'll be back to the much more patient, but still very imperfect mom that I usually am.
Yes.
Yeah. So totally just giving yourself grace and like in whatever season, whether that's
A more negative one or a more positive one.
yes, or just, phases of your cycle. Like it's a few days and then we'll be back. And in the in between, I'm still a really good mom. I'm still really patient. My temper is just right on the edge. It just doesn't take as much. But then also having those conversations where like I told the boys, I was like, Mom has been kind of angry today, right? And they were like, yeah. I was like, I know, I'm working on it. I need to go do something with my hands. I know that actually does help me. It's like
Mhm.
physical something, but I needed space.
Mhm.
Or it needed to be something fun. And so like we were gonna go to the children's parade today and then the
Oh,
crazy wind and it got canceled. So I
it
like
was so
bought
windy.
stuff. Oh my gosh, that was insane. I was like so worried that our tramp was gonna blow away and
Oh,
a tree
yeah.
was gonna come down.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah, we were just watching all the stuff in our backyard, just like going all
Girl.
around.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
how
My
much am I gonna
backyard
have to
looks
go
a
find
mess right
tomorrow?
yeah, it was crazy. So I bought stuff to like decorate their bikes and the
Oh,
stroller and stuff. We were gonna make it all cute and then the wind popped up like just a few minutes before we were gonna go do that. So that was gonna be like my fun, creative outlet to go out and do with the kids, and it was gonna be super
mhm.
fun. And then the wind, and I was like, everything's just gonna blow away. And so then it was tantrums because oh, we're not doing this anymore. I'm like, I know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then I was so angry. So I was like, okay, I have to go do something. And so I was like, guys, I need you to, will you play with Lucy and you can build up these towers and she loves to knock them down and thinks it's so funny. And will you play with her for a little bit? And I went out, I'm redoing my grandparents' cabinets at
Oh,
their house. And so I like take home a few at a time to do. And so I went out and sanded for a little while, had my book in my ears, and
nice.
working with my hands, and the kids just played. And I came back in and was so much better.
Mhm.
But being able to have that conversation of I was like, Mom needs to go do this. And Parker was like, okay.
Mhm.
Because we've had that conversation enough that he knows like I do need a minute and I will come back
Yeah.
and be so much better. And so
Which
I
is
think
really
some of
good
this
for
is
them
just like
to know.
normalizing these conversations
Yeah.
with them with like, I'm having a hard time. Here's what I need.
Mhm.
Because again, they take that and go, okay, mom has a hard time and asks for help. I'm
Mhm.
having a hard time. I need this.
Yeah.
It's been, yeah. I mean, we do it in a lot of different ways. And on the opposite end, it takes Miles will freak out about something and he'll ask for a hug and I'm like, I'm so mad at you. I don't want to give you a hug, but like I do because I know it will help and I really do love you so much. But like I
I'm
also
so
need
mad
a
at you right
second.
now.
I'm so mad at you right now. I'm like, fine, I'll give you a hug. But it helps me too. Like we're totally co-regulating. But sometimes it
Yep.
does take us just being the bigger person, being the adult, but there's so much intentional um what's the word? Constraint that has to happen. But also when I do it, everything goes so much more smooth. And sometimes, I don't know, I just been thinking lately, Nike's got it right. Like, just do it. But really though, like so much of it is like
Yep.
you just do it, even when you don't want to.
Yep. And you'll feel better after.
Yes.
If
Yes,
your house is
exactly. Like this
overwhelming,
isn't just like muscle through and get to the end of the day. This is like this is what's going to help you. And whether that's helping your kids or whether that's often I know exactly what I need to do to
still want to do it.
yeah, oh, I just don't want to because it takes effort and I don't want to. And really
It's easier to
want
sit in
least
the
effort.
angry feelings
Yeah.
or
Or numb
whatever.
and
Yep.
fall
It's just
into
easier.
social media or my book or whatever it is to just avoid.
Yes. But if you go and you do whatever it is that you're trying to put off, 9 times out of 10, you'll feel better when you're done. And if you don't, like at least that room is clean, or you exercised, or you did the thing you've been putting off, or
Yeah.
read a book to your kids, whatever the thing is that you're not wanting to do,
Yeah. Yeah, it still got you
did
somewhere.
something.
Yeah. But it is just to an extent, you just have to buckle down and do it.
Unfortunately.
Yes. But also that builds momentum. Like so
It
much
does.
that's all you need is you just need one. I was just talking to my husband about this the other day. He was like, "Oh, I just have been kind of struggling at work to I'll have
Mhm.
really good days and then I'll have really not good days and I just need something that's I don't want to do anything and it's just starting." And so we were talking like, okay, what are some of the things you can do that are either you look forward to doing them or you don't mind doing them or are just really quick tasks
Yeah.
that you can start with because then it builds momentum and it's easier to do all the other stuff when you just start with something. And so being
Mhm.
able to create that list of what is that thing that's going to get me out of this that is the least effort or the most fun or
Right.
the quickest, what are those things that I can just start with to get me out of that place and moving again? And not that it needs to be like I'm always doing something,
Mhm.
but because sometimes rest is real rest, not like unintentional. I just spent an hour on my phone rest because
Yeah.
it's not actually restful. Intention matters a lot.
It
But
does.
just having that thing when you know you do need to go do something, whether that is, okay, my kids have been asking for dinner and it's 6 o'clock and I still haven't started and I just have no desire to, like, they do need to be fed. And I really would rather cook than go out and buy food because it's
Mhm.
going to take just as long. And I would rather use what I have in my fridge anyways,
Yep.
but I need something to get me going.
Mhm.
And I feel like that makes a really big difference to just kind of have that what little thing can I do to
Yeah.
build up that momentum?
Yeah. I feel like within like I follow a lot of workout people on Instagram, and a lot of them talk about how, if you don't want to work out, but you really do want to work out, but you don't want to in the moment, like just say you'll set a timer for 10 minutes and go do it for 10 minutes, and a lot of times you'll feel better after those 10 minutes and you'll want to keep going.
Mhm.
Um and if you don't, then at least you did 10 minutes of something, even if it's just walking. And like if you don't want to go make your kids dinner, like can you put out some ranch and baby carrots and like they'll start eating that because they're hungry while you figure out what else you have to feed them. And like, just those small things that you can start with can really make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I go on a run or to the gym early most mornings and every morning I procrastinate getting up. And then I get like just a few minutes into my workout and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm out here."
Yep.
But getting out of my bed is so hard at 6 something in the morning.
Yep.
But totally worth it every time.
Mm-hmm.
I never regret it. But I always regret it if I don't.
Yep.
All right. Last thing I always ask everyone, what was a magic moment in just mundane life in the last little bit?
Um, hmm. I guess the other day, so we had swim lessons the past 2 weeks, and last week they were at kind of a weird time. They were at like 10:20, and it was half an hour, so we didn't get done until 10:50. And so usually we go to the park around 9:30 or 10, and because we had swim lessons, we couldn't do that because it just cut into everything too much. So I had a lot of time to kill in the mornings after like my usual morning routine. And so we went on a walk almost every morning. Um, and last week it started getting really hot pretty early. And so one of the days we had gone on a little bit of a walk, and then my oldest decided she didn't want to walk, she wanted to ride her scooter. So we went back to the house and we got her scooter. And then they were like, "Mom, can we have a fruit pop?" I got these, I don't know, they're like fruit puree ice pops
Mhm.
at Costco. And they've had them like twice. They're super excited about them. And at first, like my first reaction was to say no, because it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, we just ate breakfast. You don't need, you don't need a popsicle thing. Like, no. And then I was like, well, why not? Like, we can do that. And so we all had a little fruit pop as we are going on our walk. And it was just so fun. And they were so excited. And it was like, this is really fun. Like I get to make their life fun if I want to. I can choose to say no, or I can say yes, and it can be really fun.
I
And
love
that was
that.
just really
And it
cool.
doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't.
And it's so true. Like I say no so often. And then if I really think about it, again, if I take that time to pause, I'm like, why am I saying no? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It's fine. I can say yes. And sometimes it needs to be a yes with a boundary,
Yes.
but saying yes as much as possible is
Mhm.
so much more fun for them. It's so much more fun for me. It's so much less work overall.
Yep. Because if I had said no, like someone would have been sad.
Yep.
But like I said yes, and it didn't do anything bad to the rest of our day.
Yeah.
They were fine. Especially because those were like fruit puree. They didn't have tons of sugar and stuff. It was fine.
Yeah.
And they were going to swimming lessons after either. So they worked off all that energy. Probably
Yeah.
needed
I love
it.
that. And it created this special little moment with your girls where now it's this memory of, oh, we got to go on a walk and eat popsicles. How fun.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It was so fun to talk to you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me on this week's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, so message me on Instagram at the Missy Allred. There is always room in our village, so if you enjoyed it, will you please send it to a friend or leave a rating and review? Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you next week.